Here's our review of the PlayStation 5. Mambo, Element, Jackson. These are undeniably some of the most famous number 5s in the world, but now there's a new contender, the PlayStation 5. Sony's new video game console is vying to be the biggest, baddest, and boldest mamma jamma in town and go toe-to-toe with the Xbox Series X to be the king of next-gen consoles. But how does the PlayStation 5 stack up to the competition? Is it worth your money and time spent in virtual thunderdomes of pre-orders and Black Friday sales? Is it quieter than standing next to several jet engines at once? Well, the answer to these questions is a resounding yes, especially if you're an existing PlayStation user and you're looking for improved performance across the board. From its futuristic design to its mostly whisper-quiet performance to its blazingly fast load times, the PlayStation 5 is a dazzling piece of hardware that raises the bar for what we've come to expect from Sony. With a solid lineup of launch titles, gorgeous graphics, and a little bit of backwards compatibility as a treat, the PlayStation 5 is a huge improvement of the PlayStation 4 in ways that might not seem immediately apparent. Now, before we get to those sweet games, let's talk about the console itself. So this review is for the PlayStation 5 Standard Edition, which comes with a disc drive. The Digital Edition, as its name suggests, does not. Now, there's no good way to put this, but the PlayStation 5 is a certified freak. This thing is gigantic, uniquely shaped, and will likely require some rejiggering of your entertainment center. And as I learned during our unboxing video, it's a substantial piece of equipment thanks to its powerful hardware beneath its considerable hood. And while we've all had a grand old time comparing it to everything from Eva from Wally or Seto Kaiba's jacket or Portal turrets. Look, I appreciate Sony swinging for the fences and trying to make this console look and feel truly next gen. Whereas the Xbox Series X is just a larger Xer box, the PlayStation 5 looks like it walked out of 70s sci-fi concept art, but in a good way. It'll be an even better way if they let customers purchase alternate faceplates, but I appreciate the design nonetheless. Now that same design sensibility extends to the DualSense controller, which is a much weightier proposition than its predecessor. It just feels expensive, which is probably a trick of the design, like how they allegedly put metal weights in Beats by Dre headphones to make them feel more premium. There is a sense of heft and heaviness to the DualSense, but not in a way that would adversely affect your performance or wear you out unless you're maybe like the last of the Habsburg dynasty, in which case I think a gust of wind could knock you over and you probably have way bigger problems than the PS5. So let's move on. Is it loud as hell? So one of the questions we get asked the most about the PlayStation 5 is, how loud is it? On a decibel scale, the PlayStation 4 could fall somewhere between the primal scream of a banshee galloping across the Irish countryside and Hans Zimmer's Inception noise as played by an orchestra of exactly 100 tugboats. And as we learned with the PlayStation 5 teardown video, to fix this complaint, Sony's engineering team put a massive emphasis on cooling solutions, from using liquid metal on the CPU to a 120mm fan to dust collection ports that you can vacuum to a heatsink the size of Rhode Island. The PlayStation 5 is determined not to repeat the mistakes of the past. And the PlayStation 5, I am proud to report, is whisper quiet 99% of the time. When I put a PlayStation 4 disc into the system to test backwards compatibility, which I'll get to in just a little bit, I experienced this Apocalypse Now style flashback as I heard the disc whirring inside the machine like so many helicopters. But unlike the PS4, after about 15-20 seconds or so, it stopped and the sweet sounds of silence returned. Now, whether this is from how I have it horizontally positioned in my media cabinet or some other airflow related factor in my setup, I'm not sure, but it's a minor complaint in what's largely been an extremely welcome upgrade over the PlayStation 4, which was in fact loud as hell. But let's talk about that SSD. So the biggest innovation of this console generation, far and away, is the adoption of solid-state drives in lieu of mechanical hard disk drives. As PlayStation lead system architect Mark Cerny explained in excruciating detail at the Game Developers Conference, the PS5's SSD is quite literally a game changer. It's 100 times faster than the PlayStation 4's speeds. Load times are a thing of the past, and fast traveling in games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, they take place in the span of seconds. Literally, you could press X, then be halfway across Marvel's New York in the blink of an eye. It is that good. And while it doesn't have the same quick resume feature as the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5 is capable of suspending games, which means that you can get right back into the action faster than ever and pick up exactly where you left off with little to no delay. And for anyone who's played a game like The Witcher 3 or Monster Hunter World, the lack of load time, smooth frame rate, and ability to leap right back into the action will breathe new life into familiar favorites. But what about the graphics, you might be wondering? wondering, well, let me tell you, in terms of graphics, the PlayStation 5 is simply stunning. The system is engineered to run all your favorite games in 4K at steady frame rates up to 120 FPS, keywords there being up to. It's capable of 8K as well, but that's not exactly a realistic function for most consumers, unless you hate having several $1,000s and already own an 8K TV. But it's that ability to run next-gen games and optimized current-gen games at a steady 60 FPS in 4K that makes the PS5 a tremendous step up in quality over the PS4. With advanced ray tracing capabilities, the PS5 makes your favorite games look better than ever. While Spider-Man Miles Morales is a blast and a half to play, part of that joy is stopping to admire the way sunlight reflects off a building or watching something small like how the wind blows realistically through a character's hair. Now, suffice it to say, the PS5 is a powerhouse of a system, and I can't wait to see what devs are able to do with it. Now, as with the Xbox Series X, we won't exactly get a sense for the full potential of these consoles, at least until developers are able to put the pedal to the metal and test their capabilities. But everything that I've played so far looks, feels, and plays like what I want from a so-called next-gen console, at least as a starting point. I'm also looking forward to seeing how certain PS4 games perform once they've been properly optimized for the PS5. But what about the games? Well, speaking of games, let's face it, you probably aren't getting a next-gen console just to watch Netflix. Theoretically, you're getting it to play PlayStation 5 titles, especially console-exclusive titles like Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, and Bugsnax, all of which will be available at launch. And that's to say nothing of console exclusives and timed exclusives like Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Final Fantasy XVI, all coming in the months ahead. While the PS5's library of launch titles is comparatively smaller when stacked up against the Xbox Series X and Game Pass's considerable offerings, the PS5 lineup is no slouch. Through the PlayStation Plus collection, you can play a wide variety of PS4 titles from Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios like Bloodborne, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, and God of War, as well as third-party offerings like Batman Arkham Knight, Fallout 4, and Persona 5. Now, these games will benefit from increased loading speed and improved frame rates thanks to PS5's Game Boost technology. Now, you'll also have nearly the full library of PS4 titles that you own available too through the PS5's backwards compatibility functionality, but unfortunately, if you were hoping to play anything from PS3, PS2, or PS1, well, you're out of luck for the time being unless they decide to offer ports of these games through the PlayStation Store. And while this may seem like a small complaint, it's particularly glaring in light of the fact that the new Xbox consoles can play basically any game from every Xbox console generation ever. Now, if Sony didn't prioritize this technology at all, that'd be one thing, but given that they were able to do this with the PS3 then chose not to with future consoles, kind of just smacks of greed. Like they want gamers to repurchase digital versions of familiar favorites from the PlayStation Store, even if they already own physical versions of the same game. Now, as far as backwards compatibility policies go, it's just plain backward and disappointing to people like me who just want to play Lunar Silver Star Story complete on the most modern device possible in the year of our Lord 2020. I know. So the big $499 question is, should you buy the PS5? Well, the answer is yes, but with a few caveats. If you're looking for a categorical upgrade to your console gaming experience, the PlayStation 5 is a no-brainer. If you have an extensive PlayStation 4 library and you're in the market to upgrade your console, you should definitely buy this. Every game you're playing now will play smoother, look nicer, and run better on the PS5. And as I advised with the Xbox Series X, if you don't upgrade to the PS5, your life isn't going to be noticeably worse, but it can be substantially better from a user perspective if you make the leap to the PS5. It's truly a next-generation console that looks the part. It's a machine bursting with potential, and I truly can't wait to see what developers are able to do with this. Now, if you bleed Xbox green, then you're probably better off going with the Series X or S and playing whatever makes you happiest, and if you want to know more about that console, check out our review right now on Nerdist.com. But at $499, the PlayStation 5 is well worth the price of admission, especially if you have a large library of physical media like PS4 games and Blu-rays. But if you prefer to go discless, the PS5 Digital Edition is $399, a full $100 more expensive than the Xbox counterpart, the Series S, but unlike the Series S, the PS5 Digital Edition didn't sacrifice performance for form factor, so you're basically getting the same console minus a disc drive if you go with Sony. But considering how some major media companies rule that you don't actually own the digital media you purchase, I'm glad I went with this colossal console taking up so much real estate in my living room. room. But in the meantime, tell me, what questions do you still have about the PS5? Which next-gen console do you plan on getting, and why? And which next-gen game are you most excited to play? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.